In this lesson, I want to show you how I take a standard in a minor key and harmonize the melody mainly using the sixth diminished chord concept associated with the late Barry Harris. And for this task, I have chosen Blue Bossa by Kenny Dorham. Why? Well, not only is it a great standard that everybody seems to know and enjoys playing, but it is short, only 16 measures long. So let me play the finished chord melody arrangement and a bonus chorus of improvisation so you can get an idea of what we are going to learn. After this, I will break it down measure by measure and explain the procedure I use to harmonize each melody note. Before we dive into the lesson, I want to let you know, as usual, that there is a study package I've created for this lesson that you can download. It includes a PDF with the arrangement in regular notation and tab, as well as an MP3 of it, and a band in a box file, and also a MIDI file you can open up in the free app MuseScore. All of this will make the learning process not only easier, but a lot more productive. And it's available for a nominal contribution from jazzguitar.richiezelland.com/premium, and you will find it in the chord melody section. If you know your drop 2 voicings, this procedure should be fairly straightforward. Otherwise, I recommend you check out my video titled Drop Voicings for Guitar Complete. This will give you a better understanding of the chord voicings that we are using. On the same note, I want to let you know I will not be explaining all the details of the theory behind the Barry Harris sixth diminished concept. So if you are not familiar with it, I also recommend you watch my video titled Wes and the Barry Harris sixth diminished explained, where I actually show how Wes Montgomery used this system when he played his chord melody solos. And I will place links to both lessons in the info section down below this video. As most of you know, we are doing Blue Bossa in C minor, which I believe is the original key. So let me begin by explaining how simple it is to harmonize the initial 2 chord scales, that is C natural minor and F Dorian. And for this purpose, I am going to classify the scale degrees included in the melody into 2 categories, chord tones and approach tones. All chord tones will be harmonized with some inversion of the given chord, while all approach tones will be harmonized with a diminished chord, which functions as a rootless dominant flat 9 chord of the chord that it resolves to a perfect 5th down. So the melody notes for the first 2 measures are okay, so if we analyze them, we're over C minor 7 here. This is the 5th. So we're going to harmonize it with a C minor, with the 5th on top. Then we have a 4 This is not a chord tone, so we're going to harmonize that with C minor 7's dominant, which would be G7 flat 9, and we're placing this diminished shape, which is basically a rootless G7 flat 9. And all the diminished chords on the first 4 strings, they're the same, and they invert, as you probably know, in minor thirds. So if we go down the fretboard, this is another inversion. Those are the 4 shapes. So that's pretty straightforward. So after the 4, we have the flat 3. So that's obviously a chord tone, and we're going to place a C minor 7 with the 3rd on top. Then we have a 2, which is an approach tone. Again, we're harmonizing it with that diminished chord underneath, which is actually functioning as a G7 flat 9. And finally, the 1, which is a C minor 7. I'm sorry, I said finally. We got one more note there. We have that flat 7 at the end. But that flat 7 we're not going to treat as part of the C minor 7 chords, because that is actually an approach resolving to the F minor 7. So we're going to harmonize it as a diminished chord, which is functioning also as the 5-7 of F minor 7, which would be C7 flat 9, rootless. And this is the shape that we're going to use on strings 2, 3, 4, and 5 for every diminished chord. So in measures 3 and 4, we're over the 4 chord, and we have the flat 3, a 2 up here, and a 1. So the flat 3, we're going to harmonize with an F minor 7 underneath it. The 2, which is an approach note, we're going to harmonize with the diminished. In this case, it's the rootless C7 flat 9. We can look at it as a G diminished chord, and resolving to the 1 with F minor 7. So let me play all the chords. I'm just going to play quarter notes and half notes, and then I'll play it with the proper rhythm. So the first 4 measures. And if we play it with rhythm, if you want to play it faster, or if you feel you don't have the chops to play each entire chord in succession, you can simply omit the lowest note in the chord. As a matter of fact, Wes Montgomery did this a lot when he played some real up-tempo chord melody solos, when he improvised especially. Okay, to continue, on measures 5 through 8, we have our first 2-5-1 of the tune, and it's a minor 2-5. That is D minor 7 flat 5 and G7 flat 9, or also G7 altered can be used. So this uses a D Locrian for the 2 chord, and depending on the notes of the melody over the dominant chord, we have more than one choice. We have the D minor 7, and let's play the notes. So we're starting with the D minor 7 flat 5, and that's the flat 3 of the chord, and we're harmonizing it with the D minor 7 flat 5 below it. And then we have the flat 2 of that D minor 7. And normally, you know, we would use the dominant of D minor 7, and you would think, okay, A7 flat 9 would be it. Well, sometimes we can use that, and we will later on in the tune, but normally what we want to use here is a dominant 7 flat 9 chord that is a major third down from the chord's root. D minor 7 flat 5 or any minor 7 flat 5 chord for that matter can be seen as a rootless dominant ninth chord. There's a tritone in there. That's why it's called half diminished. A regular diminished chord has two tritones. So really, if we place the root here, it's a B flat 7 ninth chord. So we're going to go ahead and harmonize it with the dominant that resolves to B flat, and that would be F. F resolves to B flat, so it would be F, F7 flat 9, and the rootless chord would be here. So we have this F7 flat 9 rootless, which can also be viewed as an E flat diminished, and that's going to the 1, which is D minor 7 flat 5. Remember, if you can't play all 4 notes, just play the first 3 and omit the 4th one. And then we have the flatted 7, and that's the inversion we would use to harmonize the flatted 7. And then we're going to the G7 altered chord, and that's the sharp 9. But we're going to harmonize it with this voicing. And then the flat 9, we're going to harmonize with a diminished. And that again is a G7, rootless G7 flat 9, which is in turn going to resolve to the upcoming C minor 6. Okay, so let me play that final. Those are the notes and those 2 measures of C minor 6. So we have this 5 here, which we're harmonizing with this C minor 6 underneath it. And the 4, we're harmonizing with its dominant, which is G7 flat 9, a rootless G7 flat 9, which can also be viewed here as an F diminished. The flat 3 harmonized with the C minor 6 underneath it. So those 4 measures with that 2-5-1 in minor sound like this. Measures 9 through 12 next introduce a major 2-5-1. That is E flat minor 7, A flat 7, and D flat major 7. The melody that we have here is this E flat minor 6 chord. I'm harmonizing it with a regular E flat minor 7. But I'm treating the flat 7 as if it were a 6 chord. And whenever we have a minor 6 chord, the flatted 7 in it, if we're using a flatted 7, is harmonized as an approach tone, that is with a diminished. So, okay. And then we're going to the 6th degree, which we're harmonizing with the E flat minor 6, followed by the 5, which we're going to harmonize with a diminished chord as an approach to the next measure, which is A flat 7. So we have an E flat 7 flat 9 rootless chord here, resolving to this A flat 7, where I'm including the sharp 5, and I'm harmonizing the flatted 7 as an A flat 7 flat 9 rootless chord, or we can view it as an F sharp or G flat diminished chord, and this resolves to the target 1 chord, which is D flat major 7, and notice that it starts with a 4. So I'm harmonizing that 4 as a sus4, but I'm harmonizing the B flat with an A flat 9. And resolving back to the 5, which again is harmonized with a D flat major, and this is a 6-9 chord. That major 2-5 sounds like this. Finally, we have the initial minor 2-5-1 again. And these are the last 4 measures of the melody. Now, I did something different here than what's written in the original lead sheet. The original one is but to create more harmonic motion, I did that chromatic note in there, resolving here, because that's the flat 5 over the D minor 7 flat 5, and I'm harmonizing the 4 in there with the same voicing underneath, and then for the flatted 6, I'm harmonizing it this time with the actual dominant of D minor, which is an A7 flat 9, rootless, also can be viewed as a B flat diminished, and then that chromatic note, half step down, I'm also harmonizing with the diminished, another diminished. So, and then I'm going to the G7 flat 9, harmonizing that as a regular G7 flat 9, and then harmonizing that with a sharp 9, and harmonizing this time the flat 9 with the diminished shape. It's still a flat 9. And resolving Before I conclude, I just want to add that if you want some ideas for soloing on Blue Bossa, I've got 2 lessons that I recommend you watch. The first one is called Blue Bossa, 6 Improvisation Concepts. And the second one is Blue Bossa John McLaughlin Style. and you'll find links to them in the info section below this video, along with links to the other videos I mentioned earlier. So, what did you think? Did you enjoy the arrangement? Did you learn something new? Well, what I really want to know is if you'd like me to post more chord melody lessons in this style where I teach the harmonization procedure. As usual, I appreciate and thank you for your likes and comments and welcome any questions you may have. And if this is your first time and you enjoyed this lesson, please be sure to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you will be notified of my upcoming lessons. And until we meet again, you know the drill. Practice, practice, practice. And if your goal is to make it to Carnegie Hall, my advice, call an Uber.